all of you and a heartfelt namaste. I, Anuradha Sharda, would like to thank all of you for watching my videos, writing in your comments and your suggestions. Today, we are going to talk about moon nakshatras. Your birth nakshatra, where your moon is placed, is a very important nakshatra because it talks about your psyche. It talks about how you behave, how you act, how you react to anything, and what are your deepest innermost desires, what are your strengths, what are your weaknesses. Most of the things about a person can be seen from this moon nakshatra. So today we are going to cover the nakshatras from Moola to Revati. Let us start with Moola. What does the word Moola itself mean? The Moola means the basic. This is a nakshatra which is very humble in the beginning, but it has the abilities to take you to the zenith and to take you biggest place ever possible dreamt of. The only clause that it requires from you is that you should have a very spiritual and a humble bent of mind throughout. When you maintain that stance, that is the way you would be able to reach your zenith. Any dream that you have, or rather the dreams that you couldn't even dream about, would be successful, would become into a reality when your moon is in the moon Moola nakshatra. You could have a very humble beginning, but then the zenith, the sky is all yours. One of the very good quality about you is that you would want to do things from a fundamental base. You would want to know, research before you move on to doing anything at a very big level. And getting the big level, for example, we do have Ma Anandmai, whose moon is present in Mula Nakshatra. Coming from a very basic, very humble background, she became one of the spiritual figures in the world, where she taught people that it was very easy to just let go of things, and people adapted her ways. Many of them reached a lot of contentment in life. We move on to Purvashara Nakshatra. People who have this nakshatra as their birth nakshatra are very um, content at a level. They fight for success, they want success, but after achieving small successes in life, they're happy about it and probably would want to go ahead, but at one juncture just let go of the things. So my advice to such people would be trod along, plod along, because you are likely to reach the zenith pretty soon. These people are behind the scene warriors. They do not like to be too much upfront, but at times being on upfront is also very important. Very good strategists know how to fight and when to go into battle. They like to keep most things hidden before they put it up front. This is a nakshatra which, as the Vimshotri Dasha Lord, is ruled by Venus. And when there are two gurus in the same sign, this also definitely depicts that a person would know how to go about doing things in a very strict and yet in a very formative manner, because the things, and this also makes you a very good doctor. This nakshatra gives you the ability to be a good doctor. When we talk about the Uttarashada nakshatra, the Uttarashada nakshatra is one of those nakshatras who actually, when we talk about the sense of yoni, doesn't have much of a comparison. The mongoose doesn't have any female counterpart in the 27 nakshatras, and so these people distinctly stand out in their own behavior, in their own nature than others. They're very principled. Their mind is very um, ruled by the good, the truth, the ability to withstand pressure, to stand on your feet, and then to stand on your principle, not bending down to what others have to say, and being truthful at the cost, even at the cost of letting yourself be up for confrontations, or getting leaving something for the sake of principles. So principles of honesty, purity, essence, all these things matter, and ruled by the Vishwa Devtas, this is a very strong place to be in for any planet for that matter. And moon here gives a great great frame of mind where a person would definitely never ever bend to anything which is wrong or which is not I would go to extend and say traditional, but I could also say which is not justified. When we talk about the Shravana Nakshatra, I would say that people who have their moon in Shravana Nakshatra are extremely quiet, extremely loving, extremely very conniving. If this nakshatra is afflicted, they can be very conniving, but if it is not afflicted, these people act rather than react. These people know how to behave in a public ground. One thing that can really let them down is the sense of humor. They need to have a very strong control over their sense of humor that can at times get them in a wrong place. If you want to know more, I have a course coming up, so you can always tune in to our course. You can always get your self admitted in that course, and we are going to do delve into all of these nakshatras for 4 hours each, with a lot of material that is going to be up for takes. And then there is also research along with that. Then we have the nakshatra of Dhanisht coming up. Dhanisht is again a pelotra of many other qualities of many other nakshatras put together, and these people, whether they want it or not, whether they like it or not, more often than not gravitate towards a lot of money in life. They do earn a lot of money in life, even if they are just planets, and not just moon. If there is moon, there's a focus on material aspect, and not just material aspect. These people end up getting a lot of responsibilities also, through which they earn a lot of money. If we are just even talking about planets, then Oprah Winfrey has a lot of planets in this nakshatra, and she does, she's was the first black woman in America to become a billionaire. Again, this nakshatra can cause a little bit of problems in marriage, and we'd also see why and how in the course. When we come to Sadbhish nakshatra, this is one of the strictest nakshatras that I find, and this is one of a very strong nakshatras with a lot of repercussions on the side for not following the rules. There are rule books which are set by this nakshatra, and it has to be followed down to the T. um, the deity of this nakshatra is a very strong enterprising deity, but one who takes no prisoners. So the mind frame of the people who have their moon in Sadbhish nakshatra, incidentally, not many people will, you will find, will have the moon in the Sadbhish nakshatra. That's a funny thing that I found. So when you find people having moon in Sadbhish nakshatra, you would see that these people have a very ruthless frame of mind, where the lines of right and wrong are very determined. These people are very good at gifting things to people as and when they need it, and they can get them back also. They can be diabolic at times, so that is a thing that one needs to be very careful about also, for people having their moon especially in this nakshatra. Further, moving on to Purva Bhadra Nakshatra. This is a nakshatra which is in a fight with its own self. So we need to give them a lot of space there, because these people have a lot of internal energy which is going haywire and do not know how to account for it at times. So these people surely should do a lot of dancing practice. They should go in for a lot of calming effect practices, like meditation. And this is also a nakshatra where a person has a tight leash on their emotion, but the emotion within them is bubbling. Not just bubbling, at times can be a cauldron of volcanic cauldron. So they should have a strong hold, or should I say that they should know how to let out that energy, otherwise it can be very volcanic at times. When we come to Uttar Bhadra Nakshatra, when Uttar Bhadra Nakshatra is a calming effect, such a person would gain more while giving to others. Such a person can be a path shower. Such a person will be a very passive person until and unless there is a need to move ahead. When there is a need to move ahead, this person would not take any chance or sit back, would know how to act to a situation. Generally a very happy go lucky kind of a person, and a wise person to begin with this nakshatra, who also definitely with age matures and becomes more and more beautiful, or handsome internally. When I talk about the Revati nakshatra, one of the beauties of the Revati nakshatra, that it's a warehouse of talent. It is a warehouse of talent of Uttar Bhadra, Uttar Falguni Nakshatra, or for that matter, Shradbish, Jesh. So many talents these people have, and yet they're gentle, calm, and compassionate. They lead by the front, they know how to guide a person, and yet can show their own talented self as and when required. So, this is something very beautiful about this nakshatra. These people generally take up the underdogs. So, we will start and see in the chart as to um, examples that have taken up few examples. As I told you about Anandmai Ma right at the beginning, and that happens to be in our 10th house. So 10th house is a house of profession. Nowadays we do take the person as having the activity, or doing the activity of us, leading people, becoming a guru as a profession, if I can put it there. She was one lady who really did her work to the T. Vishwanathan Anand, the man who likes to be behind the scenes, likes to focus on his work, likes to win his battles, and has his moon very strongly placed in the Purva Bhadra nakshatra, and has constantly won his battles, made himself um, a known force in the world of chess, was the first grand chess master in India. Dhirubhai Ambani is also another person who has his moon right there in the Purva Bhadra Nakshatra. For him, his ascendant is in Moola Nakshatra, shows a great upbringing for him. And as we see it, Saturn for him is in the Shravana Nakshatra. He had a good year to what was going around, could understand a lot of things, could understand the situation of the country of the moment, could work by it, and became one of the leading businessmen in the world, breaking a lot of glass ceilings at that time when it was very difficult to get into the stock market or the cotton market. He made his mark in those areas. When we talk about the Uttarashada Nakshatra, we see that PT Usha, she is a great force. She was one of those people in the country who always stood up, who has till date always stood up for all the athletes, maintains a school to train athletes for Olympiads, Olympics, and for all other uh, such competitions around the world, has a great sense of rightness and justice, and has also, because a Ketu again is placed in Mula Nakshatra, has come from very grassroots levels. So you can see how not just the moon but many other planets playing their part in it. Jay Prakash Narayan, again a very strong fundamental person, a people's person who had the ability and the courage to raise a voice against the emergency during Indira Gandhi's time. His values, his fundamentals, his need to look out for people, very much seen in the moon, which is present in the Uttarashada Nakshatra for him, or for that matter, Abraham Lincoln, who decided to, yes, take his country into the civil war, but make sure that the slavery was abolished, or for that matter, the financial systems of the country were very set much right. Louis May Alcott, she has her um, she has her Nakshatra, Moon Nakshatra as Dhanishta. In those days, when women writers were not very much acknowledged, she set a mark for herself, earned great deal from her books, and as a writer, did great job. We see that her third lord is in the 10th house. Also, we see, and we see that the moon, which is the lord of the 12th house, is again in the 7th house in Dhanishta. So she got international name and acclaim from the world over. Salman Khan again in Dhanishta Nakshatra, and we know that Salman Khan is one of the most highest paid actors, and somebody who is one of the richest. As per Wikipedia, it was stated that he's richer than most. He's richer than most of the Hollywood actors also, and that's speaking a lot compared to Indian standards. So then we're talking about the Sadbihish nakshatra, a nakshatra that has many shades, that has its own battles to fight. Again, I would say And Gianni Versace, a talented designer, a person very much buttoned on, a very person who was always on the mark, who was always watchful, a person who had a lot of details that is associated with Sadbisha on his palette, can be we can very well say that this nakshatra was associated with it. In one of my videos about uh, gays and lesbians and homosexuality, I have mentioned this nakshatra, and we can always use Gyani's chart for that matter. We have John Bardeen. John Bardeen was a scientist, and for John Bardeen, his work was very important. He was an extremely disciplined person, a person focused on finding new things in life, as this nakshatra definitely acknowledges. Getting things from the depth and putting it on front, which John Bardeen did, because he was a second two-time Oscar, sorry, Nobel Prize winner, and in great humility, but with a lot of sincerity, he accepted those Nobel prizes. Then we have about Purva Bhadra Nakshatra. When we talk about Purva Bhadra Nakshatra, there can be no example better than Rekha herself. Rekha, the yesteryear's actresses and beautiful as ever. She has her moon in Purva Bhadra. Her life had been right from the beginning a life of turmoil, a life of fighting, a life of trying to find a space for yourself. And yet, she, as age has matured, though she's gone through a lot, she's gone through the test of fire in life, she's emerged a victor, and she has proved that this nakshatra people do not need to always keep fighting in life. You can have a sense of semblance, you can have a sense of peace to yourself also. A very beautiful example in that regard. For the Uttar Bhadra nakshatra, as I've already stated, it is a nakshatra which does show the lot of calmness, a lot of flowing attitude, and a lot of acceptance. Many people that I know who have this nakshatra are very accepting of things on the whole. When you take up Bal Gangadhar Tilak's chart and we see his moon is placed in Revati Nakshatra, a person who always had time to show people the path, a person who always chose the right path, and at the same time was very compassionate, very learned, and knew his skills to the T. I find that people who have their moon in this nakshatra a little biased towards mathematics for all that reasons that are so confusing and confounding. And the same can be said about Pavel Pavel Durav, as we all have been using Telegram a lot nowadays. We do know that Telegram is a very important it's a very important medium for all of us, and he's the inventor of it. He's the one who got that app made, and he has a great knowledge, and yet he's the one who's been helping people to communicate, helping people to navigate and show the way. So a very typical Revati Nakshatra that we see here. For Uttar Bhadra Nakshatra, we can take the chart of Zeta zones. We know that Zeta zones has been a beautiful actress, has reached a great height, and but to a lot of extent, her name, her fame has been in association with her husband also, and she's got a good place to be in with that name also. A very strong person in her own right. She has a very calming effect on all those around her. So we can say that about Uttar Bhadra Nakshatra with a lot of surety and a lot of confidence. So there's a lot that can be understood. This is just not even on the surface of, this is not even scratching the surface. We have a great course with 4 hours detailed analysis on each nakshatra and knowing the remedial measures which can be done and can give very profound and perfect results. Till we meet you again, do stay safe and be happy.